welcome to Iron Port here on Metropolitan Television. Iron Port is proudly brought to you by the Ghana Revenue Authority, GWEL PLC, Serene Insurance, Ghana Link Network Services, Meridian Port Services, and indeed Phoenix Insurance. The show is proudly powered by the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority-GPHA, and our media partner on this journey of a lifetime is the Business and Financial Times, the BNFT. If you want to have a grasp of all the transpired in the show tonight, make a date and grab the Thursday edition of the BNFT, and you'll be able to read and see all that happened here on the show. Tonight, we are streaming live on our social media pages. On Facebook, we are live at Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. Still on Facebook, we are live at Port of Tema. And on YouTube, we are streaming live at Iron Port. Iron Port. As usual, we shall be getting interactive with you. And so all you have to do is sit back, relax, and grab your phones and send us your messages and comments via the dedicated WhatsApp line, which is 0559019177. 0559019177. When the time is ripe, and I pick signals from the production team, we shall activate the phone lines for you to call in and contribute to the discussion. My name is Kennedy Mona. We are going for a quick break. When we return, we'll continue with the show. Please stay with us.
Guys, no, I'm tired. I'll go on a date with whoever gets here first.
Princess, really?
Okay, I come.
Shut up!
Mame,
Boss, fill my tank with Super XP Ron 95.
Fill up with Super XP Ron 95 and Diesel XP high performance products from GWEL.
Sorry, Tony got here first, so I'm stepping with him.
Oh, cut him.
Hey, go for a
Choose Super XP Ron 95 and Diesel XP for an energizing driving experience. Always go for GWEL Super XP Ron 95. GWEL, good energy.
Electricity, pay your taxes. Yeah. Our taxes, our future.
Because you see, without our taxes, we wouldn't have good roads, good schools, better hospitals, street lights, and other very important social amenities. When we pay our taxes, we give our children free and quality education. Talga, my money too small. Why should I pay my tax? Look, small. Salifo, it doesn't matter how small or big your business or income is. You still have to pay your taxes. The little taxes from each and every one of us, when put together, could give your community clean water or that deprived school with tables and chairs. Please pay your taxes. It is your responsibility. It is your civic duty. It is the law.
Impressive factory. If only I had listened to you, I wouldn't have been in this mess. That devastating fire virtually wiped out the whole factory and my warehouse.
Remember my misfortunes last year? Serene Insurance Asset All Risk Fire policy that I took were there to pay for my damaged stocks in the warehouse. And my machines that were affected by the floods have been replaced. My accident vehicle is back on the road thanks to Serene Insurance Motor Policy. Currently, my goods are on the high seas covered with their marine cargo insurance policy. I was just telling Ajima about Serene Insurance.
Oh, Ajima,
tell him more.
As a road contractor, I make sure I do my contractors all risk insurance for the projects and then workers' compensation for all the workers on site. With Serene Insurance, they will make sure they will cover your unknown tomorrow today.
Serene Insurance, a new face of insurance. Call us now.
MPS Terminal 3 is Africa's new state-of-the-art container terminal at Tema Port. For manufacturers, agro-processors and traders, the new port means business can be done faster. This infrastructure boost will improve Ghana's port handling capacity, connect more trading routes, and oil the engine of growth for the economy, creating greater opportunities across all sectors as Africa's markets merge and become the largest trading bloc globally. MPS, we connect, you thrive.
Business and life can be like the sea sometimes.
Sometimes serene, sometimes calm, sometimes turbulent, and at times it brings the unexpected. However it is like, trust Phoenix Insurance for your home, car, business, and marine insurance needs. Call 0302 246 319 or 0243 690 492.
At Phoenix, you experience a delightful service delivered with wisdom.
All right, so welcome back. We are now going to take a look at happenings in the port and shipping industry in the course of the week. And indeed, in the course of the week, our seasoned maritime professional and general manager in charge of marketing and corporate affairs at the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, Mrs. Esther Gyebi-Donkor, took time off her busy schedule to move to the Takoradi port, where she mentored some female employees of the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. It was a beautiful mentorship session during which she gave them beautiful pieces of advice. We have that particular story coming up shortly. Plus the fact that port reception facilities in Ghana also during the week underwent some skills upgrade, knowledge upgrade. They had a training program within the precincts of the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority headquarters. We have details of that particular story as well for you, plus more. Please enjoy.
As the world marked International Women's Day last Friday, female employees at the Port of Takoradi underwent a mentorship session with seasoned maritime professional Esther Gyebi-Donkor, who is currently the General Manager in charge of marketing and corporate affairs at the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. The mentorship session was to give aspiring female professionals the opportunity to have a closer interaction with the accomplished woman whose expertise cover port operations and management, corporate affairs, marketing, and communications. The director of Port Takoradi, Peter Amubediakon, who graced the occasion, had some vital advice for the gathering.
When you become a person of value, you recognize the purpose for which GPHA was created and the dynamics in which you have been brought in to fit and recognize your role. You will become a person of value to be recognized by the system and you will rise up. But when we accept mediocrity as the norm, it is about recognizing that we need to transform our minds.
Madam Esther provided insight into some of the choices that contributed to her 30-year successful career. She urged workers to endure career setbacks and imbibe the spirit of perseverance in their work.
It's not easy, but don't be down because that thing happened to you during the career process. So that some people will take it to heart to the extent that they cannot overcome. And so they begin to put up lackadaisical attitude towards work. I've not been promoted for so many years. This one came yesterday, he's been promoted. So me, if when it's 5 o'clock, I've closed. When is this? I will come at 8. And the boss gives you work, you don't even want to do it because you are hurt. And you are down. No. You need to overcome that pain and then continue to work hard.
She also advised her mentees to take up opportunities to continuously upgrade themselves academically as well as learning on the job.
The industry we are working in is very dynamic. It's changing. Things are changing. So if you came in with a first degree, probably in economics, you cannot stay there forever. You need to do something about the industry. Is it port management? Is it safety? Is it security? Is it what? You need to better yourself as you move on.
The mentorship program was under the auspices of the Ghana chapter of the Network of Professional Women in Maritime and Port Sectors of West and Central Africa. The president of the association, who doubles as the Marketing and Public Affairs Manager at the Port of Tema, Abna Sewo Pokufosu, urged women to abreast themselves with trends in the maritime industry.
Follow what is happening in the industry. Don't say because you are not in operations, you are not in marketing, but you need to know. You need to know what is happening in other ports. And then you also need to know how we are doing as a port. So that as an authority, so if somebody elsewhere is saying something contrary, you can debunk it.
The director of Port presented a plaque to the accomplished maritime professional for her dedication and commitment to the industry. Port reception facilities are a key component of the environmental management program at Ghana's ports. The Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, in complying with the International Convention for the Prevention of Pollution from Ships, also known as MARPOL, has licensed private sector operators to collect ship-sourced waste at the country's ports. To properly fulfill this mandate and keep abreast with global best practices, the authority and the various port reception facilities undergo regular continuous training. Earlier in the week, one of such meetings was held to upgrade the skills and know-how of the parties involved in waste reception at the country's ports. Facilitated by the Port Environmental Network Africa, this year's training program builds on previous meetings intended to enhance cooperation among operators and regulators and tackle operational challenges. This year's program had participation from officials from the port authorities of Cape Verde, Congo, and the Gambia, who came to learn from Ghana's model. The executive coordinator for PENAF, Dr. Harry Barnes Daban, provided more details about the significance of the program.
The whole idea for this meeting was to get them to understand the need to cooperate and work together, set a goal. So help them to now move towards forming an association, define their goals and objectives, and then work out the rules and regulations and how to achieve what they intend to achieve. That will also enhance their operation and performance. Beyond that, PENAF also looked at regional cooperation, so getting other ports in West and Central Africa, but also Africa, to begin to work together to standardize how ports reception facilities are operationalized, because we had seen that there were vast differences, divergences among the ports.
The Estate and Environment Manager at the Port of Takoradi, David Helm, added on to that.
Facility services is a very important service. Port management, it's actually an obligation that port authorities are supposed to perform. It's an obligatory service. The purpose is to manage ship-related waste to avoid dumping in the sea. And it's very critical because of the issue of sustainable development. Environmental management is becoming more important in corporate governance. And as a port authority, we take this service as a very important one.
Participants from the other countries expressed their satisfaction with the program.
So I came here to know more about the MARPOL. So I came because I know Ghana, the organization of Ghana is better than in Congo. So I want to know more because we have started with this waste challenge, how to take care of the waste at our port. So we want to improve the way we are doing things.
Ahead of the key global events that will decide the pace of shipping's decarbonization, Vincent Clerc, CEO of Danish shipping and logistics giant A.P. Moller-Maersk, has highlighted 3 imperatives that will be crucial if the maritime industry wants to meet ambitious emission reduction targets. Firstly, he says, there is the need to close the price gap between green and fossil fuels with a financial mechanism effectively leveling out the price difference between green and fossil fuels and rewarding the right fuel choices. Secondly, he says there is the need to ensure a well-to-wake approach that is science-based and results in genuine emission reduction. Finally, he says there is the need to ensure this green transition is just and supports developing countries. A number of these countries, provided that investment and funding is geared in their direction, could become the world's new green bunkering hubs. The United States Department of Transportation's Maritime Administration has published a notice of funding opportunity, making $450 million available for Port Infrastructure Development Program. The investments made under the Port Infrastructure Development Program will focus on modernizing U.S. coastal and inland waterway ports, as well as strengthening the supply chains and economic security. The Biden-Harris administration's bipartisan infrastructure law provides $450 million annually in funding for the program from fiscal year 2022 until fiscal year 2026.
All right, so those were happenings in the port and shipping industry on the global stage. We are now going to take the word or phrase of the day. Remember, the word or phrase of the day has been fashioned to bring you up to speed with the terminologies and jargons we use in the shipping industry. Today's word is shipment window. Shipment window.
Shipment window refers to a date range set by the buyer, during which time the supplier must ship the cargo. The buyer decides on the dates based on when he will need the stock.
All right, so welcome back. We are now zooming into our discussion proper tonight. And tonight we're taking a look at port reception facilities and the opportunities and challenges, for advancement. And this topic comes on the back of the training program. You saw the news item that took place within the premises of the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority last week. And we're told 3 other countries joined their Ghanaian counterparts, for this particular training session. We had Congo, we had Gambia, and indeed we also had Cape Verde, or Cape Verde, if you like, participating. So this was an African thing. And so we have in the studios Harry Barnes Daban, who is the executive coordinator of the Port Environmental Network Africa PNAF. Indeed, they actually facilitated and held that program for the port reception facilities and their management. Also in the studios with us is Mr. Lonsdale Okulu, who is a senior estate and environment officer at the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority-GPHA. Good evening, gentlemen, and welcome to Iron Port.
Good evening. Thank you. Thank you.
So, also to join us will be Mr. Abdul Ganiu, who is the General Manager for Zeal Environmental Technologies Limited. They are one of the waste or port reception facility managers in this country. They also took part in the program. You can see his image there. He'll be joining us via phone, and so we'll be reaching out to him along the line so we can take some perspectives from him as well as far as this discussion is concerned. But let me start with you, Dr. Harry Barnes Daban, and find out from you in a layman's language. When we say port reception facility, what do we mean?
Thank you for the question. Basically, it's, as ships travel, they generate waste on board. Yes. So oily waste from the engine rooms, but also garbage from the areas where the crew reside, but also waste that comes also from rainwater and all kinds of stuff. So as these wastes are generated, they kind of could get contaminated. So as ships get into a port, they are supposed to discharge these wastes into a facility in the port for these to be received and then treated and handled in an environmental friendly manner. So in simple terms, it's just to receive ship-generated waste or ship wastes that are generated on the ship's voyage and then treated and disposed in an environmental friendly way.
Right. So your training program basically centered on MARPOL 73, 78. I just want to find out from you, if you can tell us why this is important, how this came about, and the status as far as our port reception facilities in Ghana is concerned.
Yep. MARPOL, as it's the International Convention for the Prevention of Marine Pollution from Ships. So the objective is to prevent pollution of the oceans and to keep the ocean health. As we all know, where there is life in the ocean, for marine life, but also our lives also depend on it. So to protect the oceans, the MARPOL Convention was adopted by the International Maritime Organization in 1973. Whilst this convention was adopted, then between 1976 and 77, there were several incidents of ship accidents.
Right.
And to respond to these accidents, a protocol was also adopted.
Right.
But by the time the protocol was adopted, so this protocol then has technical annexes on the various types of wastes that are generated by ships. Whilst this protocol was adopted, in fact, the convention had not come into force.
Right.
So the convention itself was adopted in 1973, and then the annex also came up in 1978. But once the convention had not been adopted, then the annexes absorbed the parent convention. That's why we have the name MARPOL 73, 78. So it puts together the convention itself that is aimed at keeping the oceans healthy, and then the technical annexes that indicates or picks how specific types of waste must be handled under the convention.
Right.
And basically that's what it is. And then it came to force finally in 1983.
Absolutely.
That's it. That's
Yes.
what it is. And regarding its status, generally, I think the recent amendment has really focused on climate issues.
Right.
So MEPC 32976 amended Annex 1. Annex 1 of the convention deals with oily wastes that ships generate on the way. I mean, in their travel. So it got amended, prohibiting that ships would not be allowed to carry heavy fuels as fuel as they travel in the Arctic waters. So basically, it entered into force. Well, it emanated into 2022 November, but actually came into force this year. So that's a recent addition to it on the status. But then also there's another recent addition also affecting Annex 6 of the convention, which has to do with air pollution from ships. That also got emanated from ABPC 32876, which introduced new requirements relating to existing ship energy efficiency, but also their carbon intensity. So if you look at it, the status now is that it's really looking at fuels that emit nitrogen and sulfur oxides, and then impact on climate change. And put these together, these are the current additions that have come onto the convention to keep it up as it is. Yeah.
Right.
If you want to talk about the status in Ghana, of course, Ghana is already a signatory to the convention. And then as international convention, after the country has ratified it, it also has to domesticate it with a national regulation to enforce it. So in 2016, then the Marine Pollution Act was also passed to regulate all the technical annexes of the convention. And since then, Ghana has really been working on it. But the interesting thing here is that there's a certain best practice, which I kind of share wherever I go, that you could have institutions get ahead of the state. Until 2016, we didn't have a national law to implement the convention. But then the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority identified itself with international best practice as a member of the global maritime community and implemented the convention by establishing port reception facilities. So the GPHA in 2004 went ahead of the state. Even though there was no national regulation, it went ahead of the state and implemented the convention in its own. And this is, for me, some kind of best practice that institutions, organizations can't go ahead of the state because the state doesn't have all that it takes, does not know everything, even though it is responsible to ensure that the regulations come. Proactivity on the part of actors can make it much better. And that's the status. And since then, it's been working quite well.
Yes. Okay, so let me come to Lonsdale and find out from you, if you can give us a sense of the kind of importance that the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority attaches, to fulfilling the requirements of MARPOL 73-78.
So, good evening to your cherished viewers.
Yes.
It's a member of the International Maritime Organization.
Yes.
And as a member state, we are expected to comply with the conventions that emanate from IMO. And MARPOL 7378 is one of such conventions. That convention seeks to protect the marine environment. And GPHA attaches serious importance to the fulfillment of its requirements. And that's the reason why we have the waste reception facilities in our ports, both in Tema and Takoradi. Secondly, we are certified to ISO. There is EMS, QMS, and the OSHAs. When you look at these three standards, they have sustainability running through them. Like, sustainability is core to their operations or requirements. So the MARPOL 7378, which is also a sustainability initiative, is something that falls in line with what we are doing with ISO. So we place much importance to
much premium. All right. So, ceding the activities of port waste reception to private sector may present some benefits. Can you enumerate some of these benefits that we are perhaps getting from these operators?
So, port operation itself is a very complex and expensive venture. This ceding of the PRF activities to the private sector has benefited us in so many ways.
Right.
One that comes to mind is it helps us focus on our core business as a port authority.
Right.
The other two has to do with the idea that the private sector brings on board high level of efficiency. Then there is the issue of royalties that we get from the PRFs when they operate and make revenue. A portion of their revenue comes to us as royalties, and that is one benefit that we enjoy. Then the other one I can talk about is that we've now ceded the operation and capital costs in the PRF operations to the private sector. That frees us a little bit.
Right. Okay. Let me come back to Dr. Harry Banstaban. You did make mention of the fact that the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, in its quest to fulfill these requirements, went ahead of the country when the country had not even initiated moves to get it done. In 2004, the port went ahead to do that. I just want to find out from you if you can give us a sense of what we have done so far, as a country, and how far we have come with our story in terms of, fulfilling these requirements by MARPOL.
Yeah, as a country, I think we've come so far. Ghana, if I look at the sub-region, I think Abidjan was the first to actually do something on environmental taxes.
Right.
But if you come to real performance, you can also know that it was also the country that fell victim to hazardous waste dumping. So it's not as linear as it must be. But since Ghana initiated it in 2004, it has been very consistent. It started with one operator, it got to two, and now there are several of them. And each one strives to build capacity to be able to ensure the implementation of the convention in the way that it has to. And it has also highlighted the prominence of Ghana when it comes to environmental responsibility globally, because then it is advertised out there that the facility is in place, and it is operated with good oversight.
Right.
That has so far not seen any infringement. That is that could be counterproductive.
Yeah.
In that sense, in other words, also, it has brought about the building of capacity towards improving the environmental sustainability performance of the port itself.
Right.
But then also created the public-private partnership, the benefits of what comes with it. And like my colleague rightly said, the port is now able to focus on what it has to do, and then the private sector also focus on what it knows to do better. And if these things happen, that efficiency is the watchword. Efficiency is what it is aimed at. But of course, one cannot say that it has been perfect and smooth. There has been challenges along the way, and it's something that can be addressed continuously as we move on. We pick one thing at a time. And part of this way of addressing it is the continuous trainings that we organized, and even for this particular training that we did. Sometime at the turn of the century, and sometime maybe in the early 2020s, there seemed to be a kind of misunderstanding between some of the actors that are connected with the port reception facility operation. So it was like the customs under the Ghana Revenue Authority, but then also the National Petroleum Authority, and then also the Ghana Maritime Authority. There was some kind of misunderstanding on the roles of who does what. And this was really adversely affecting the smooth operations of the port reception facility operators.
Right.
So PENAF got in. Of course, we have always worked with the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, and then organized a stakeholder engagement where we, out of confident disclosure, bared out the challenges that we faced. So each organization indicated what the challenges were. It's, of course, the dialoguing is not as smooth as whatever, but at least an initiation, something was initiated.
Absolutely.
And the essence was to see it through. What we did was that, okay, we can't end it here. A good meeting is as good as follow-up. So what do we do to really bring about the needed solutions that would address the situation. So we organized a follow-up study visit and took these actors to the Netherlands because we have an international partnership with the Netherlands and they're also happy to work with our ports. So we took them to the Netherlands to have a hands-on experience of how port reception facilities are operated in the Netherlands. So we had the customs there, we had the Maritime Authority there, we had the Port Authority there, we also had the private port reception facilities operators there. And we spent a whole week having discussions, having presentations, having interactions, having dialogues, having site visits. And trust me, that's one important thing for me that I see is working so well. By the time we ended the program, it became much clearer that, okay, the different institutions were kind of operating in silos. So there was not that inter-agency collaboration. And they understood that something had to be done about it. Now, why was this happening? It was simply because they did not understand what MARPOL was all about. In fact, even the reception facility operators themselves, some of them had not even heard of MARPOL before. So that lack of adequate understanding was there. And interestingly, when we returned, Customs did a report to its board or its management, explaining that this is what they understand, this is a green business, and they should even be entitled to incentives. Rather than being burdened with taxes, which was not really explainable. And they recommended in their report that the port facility operators should be able to be mobilized to form an association to have a common front and one voice. And then they can focus on their goals and aims. So that tells you how continuous dialogue and engagement can really enhance interagency cooperation. And I think it's really working well now. With the Maritime Authority, things are also very improving, and it's a great achievement because if it works well, Customs is okay, Maritime Authority is okay, the Port Authority becomes okay, and then also the operators themselves, as private sector operators, don't get frustrated, and then we can enhance efficiency. So this is one of the good things that we can see. Dialogue can bring about.
Okay, let me come to Lonsdale. Tell us, how are you able to ensure that the responsibilities you have entrusted into the PRFs as the port reception facilities that you have appointed to manage, the ports, are able to do the work the way you want them to do it? Because you mentioned in your earlier submission or the fact that we are ISO certified and we must do everything, premised on standards, international standards, so to speak. So tell us, how are you able to ensure that they do the work,
thank you for the question. So what we normally do is that we sign a concession agreement with them. These concession agreements comes with expected deliverables. The deliverables are normally in line with what the IMO requires of us with regard to building and operating a reception facility. So the authority tracks these deliverables over the concession term to ensure that there's compliance. And secondly, we collaborate with GME to inspect the facilities to assess their adequacies. Whenever there is an infraction or shortfall during the inspection, we quickly inform the PRFs to start working on them, to correct them and take corrective measures. Then lastly, we also check on these facilities to ensure that they keep a valid EPA permit and fire certificates at all times. That's one way to ensure that there is safety protocols being observed and environmental regulations being observed.
All right. Let me come to you, Doc. If you can paint a picture of what a typical port reception facility looks like. I'm not trying to say perhaps it's a structure that is there. Like when you go, you see, oh, this structure is standing there, that's a port reception facility. What is a port reception facility like, both in our context in Ghana and perhaps in the developed world? What do you expect to see?
Definitely, port reception facilities must have an existing physical infrastructure. There should be an existing terminal. That is able to handle the streams of waste it is supposed to collect. If you look at the case of Ghana, it's basically does Annex 1, which is oily waste. So a port reception facility in Ghana, in fact, most cases, The issue is that once you ratify the convention, Annex 1, which is oily wastes, and then Annex 2, which is noxious substances in liquid form, are compulsory. So a reception facility must have the infrastructure to handle oily wastes. And basically, it's a decanter that would separate the water from the oil, and then if there's any sludge also, to take them out. And that's you should find it. And then if it does sewage, which is Annex 4, that it should also be able to have the equipment that is able to receive sewage from the ships and then also be able to dispose it off in an environmental friendly way. So it should have the facility to treat it and not to just draw the sewage from the ship and then dump it at odor or of the second one. No, it should be able to handle it. And then if it is also handling Annex 5, which has to do with garbage, it should also be able to handle waste. And thankfully, with the concept of a recycling and this kind of stuff, the ships already separate their waste. So plastics, paper, metals. So if these facilities collect them, then they should also know what to do with them. What do they do the plastic waste? Do they turn it out into something, or do they just send it to somebody who wants to use it? The paper, what do they do with it? The glass bottles, what do they do?
Yes.
So these kind of infrastructure should be there in a reception facility to handle these kind of streams of waste that they have to handle. The Annex 6 has to do with air pollution, and it has nothing much to do with the reception facility operators per se. It has to be the Port Authority that should be able to possibly provide onshore power. Yes, but then you see, these implementing, having the infrastructure is where the challenge is for creativity and innovation. In Ghana, for example, I just tried to give a few examples. You can see one of the operators that collects sewage from the vessels, for example, takes the sewage through its biodigester to be able to generate biogas. For me, that's fantastic. It's beautiful. So it's just not just collecting the sewage and then just discharging it into a treatment plant or anything, but getting biogas out of it, which is green energy. It's beautiful. If you get to Douala, for example, there's also one company, Bokum Recycling, that also is able to turn plastics and rubber into shoes and sandals or footwear, and then also door mats and that kind of stuff. So you see this circular economy operating there. And I mean, there are typical examples like that. So there should definitely be a fiscal infrastructure with the processes and procedures that can adequately handle whichever stream of waste that the facility is receiving. And it should not be business as usual. It should, because it's a green business. So it should be one that enhances value and also takes away negatives from the environment, but add on positives. That's what one has to see.
Right. In terms of port reception facilities and how they operate, are we able to bring us up to speed with how the best practices in terms of how they operate? And if we can take a look at a few examples and perhaps zero in on Africa. You've just told us in Ghana what the situation is like.
Yes, I guess these are basically the kind of stuff that I've already mentioned. The difference between Africa and the advanced world maybe is the adequate knowledge that the West has regarding the international convention itself, and then also, of course, they have access to capital, so they have infrastructure with high technology, and then also they have regulations that guide their operations, and there is the mechanisms for monitoring, for enforcement, for compliance, and that is there. And then there are incentives also for them to be creative and innovative. So much as Africa may not have gotten there, we are also not that bad yet. What happens is that different countries are doing it in different ways. Some countries in the sub-region do not really have formal reception facilities as you can find in Ghana, as you can find in Nigeria, for example. They don't really have it, but they have some kind of collectors who receive these wastes. But the challenge there is who monitors this kind of waste that they collect. Because even for the countries that have systems in place that collect. The challenge is even with management, documentation, being able to verify what kind of waste is being collected. These challenges are there for those who have physical facilities and have gotten the permits to operate in the way they have to. So you can imagine those ones that is being left in the hands of small collectors.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that we are trying to seek to rally people around, to create that awareness that we need to institutionalize a kind of formal approach so that we can have a track and trace of whatever wastes that the ships have discharged, and then also to their final disposal. And then we can trace along that line. So, and then also the challenge of fragmentation.
Right.
So you have policies that stand on their own, that are not really coherent with relative conventions that, like you pick MARPOL, for example, it still also has to connect with the Rotterdam Convention on Chemicals.
Right.
It has to do with Basel Convention on Transboundary Movement of Waste. But do we have regulations that are able to coherently get these to work together?
Right.
And that's a challenge. So that is where you can see the difference between the advanced countries. These are properly coherent. Even then, there can still be challenges, but you can see that regulations pick all these relative conventions and practices together. The Convention on Biological, for example, they're all looked at and taken into consideration. But we seem to have isolated policies. And if they get together, it could be better. And then also the issue of the lack of interagency collaboration.
Right.
That's also one of the issues. But also lack of collaboration among the operators themselves. They are more than competing than co-pitting.
Right.
We want to push co-pitting. So if you are co-pitting, you know we all have the same thing, but we are not competing to overtake the other, but we are competing to become good.
Absolutely.
So that we don't lower the threshold and then make it business as usual.
Right.
So these are some of the things that hampers are being different from the advanced countries. But we're getting there. Like I gave these examples of what you can already find in Douala, for example, what you can find already in Ghana, for example. And in Nigeria, there's a fantastic facility. In Ghana, Zeal in Takoradi has a huge facility, technologically advanced, that it is not even only treating waste from Ghana, but also waste from other countries within the sub-region as well. Not even the sub-region alone, but other parts of South and Eastern Africa.
Right.
And so there is goodness. But if we can work together and synergize, then we will be able to fulfill. So what one cannot do, the other can do better, and then we build on the economics of our strengths.
Awesome. All right, so you just mentioned Zeal, and I'm told by the production team that we have Mr. Abdul S. Ganiu, who is the General Manager for Zeal Technologies Limited on the line. Good evening, sir, if you can hear me, Abdul Ganiu. And please, I want you to bring us up to speed and let us understand and appreciate what a typical day in the life of a waste reception facility is in terms of your operations.
Yeah, a very good evening to you all at the studio. Please, can you hear me loud and clear?
Absolutely, yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, thank you very much. A very good evening to you once again, and also extend my regards to your viewers as well.
Good evening, sir.
To us as well. So good evening to everyone.
Right.
Yeah, I'm happy to be part of this discussions today. So thanks so much for this opportunity. With respect to Zeal Environmental Technology and the port reception facility, as the discussion has been ongoing since morning, it's quite a very important operations, as Mr. Dr. Barnes has mentioned as well. So the presence of port reception facility within the various ports in any country serve a significant role in preserving our ecosystem, especially the marine environment. So we as Zeal, being present especially in Takoradi, even though our operation cut across the whole nations, but in terms of the port reception facility, we are majorly present and operate within the Takoradi port.
Right.
So we understand the relevance and importance of having the port reception facility and the operation or the services that they render to the ships.
Right.
It is said that the activity needs to be done promptly without any undue delay to the ships. So looking at this relevance, Zeal has been able to position itself as of today by increasing its capacity in terms of personnel and equipment, training, and also to be able to handle some of these vessels that come up at the port of Takoradi.
Right.
Irrespective of the number of the vessels that come to the port, ZEAL is 24 hours available to receive any ships that call to the port. So we have our treatment plants where we are able to manage some of the waste in regards or in relation to the annexes of the MARPOL conventions.
Yeah.
But one good thing about us is that even before the inception of the MARPOL, we try as much as possible to expand our territory and operation such that we don't limit ourselves only to waste generated by the ships.
Yeah.
So that means that all the annexes under the MARPOL conventions, we are in a good position to be able to handle almost all of it.
Right.
Be it the oil in event of maybe spill, accidental or operational waste generated on the vessel, oil rag, hazardous waste, including medical waste, which is not captured in the annexes. It's part of the waste that ZEAL also handle. Because the reason why we decided to expand our arms to some of this waste is to make sure we prevent zero discharge into the marine environment. So, and also, we also try as much as possible to also serve other companies or countries in the neighboring Ghana.
Yeah. So
over the years, we've been able to manage waste from a number of countries, be it Togo, Liberia, Mauritania, Liberia, Mauritania, and we also have Benin, Togo as well. And even recently, just a few weeks ago, we received some hazardous waste from neighboring country, from Gabon, which came from an oil tanker vessel.
Right.
So with this, it means we are able to attract a lot of vessels to the port, which by virtue of which creates a lot of revenues and also businesses to stakeholders within the port operations. So what we believe in, even though we are in Takoradi, we know there are two ports in Takoradi, Tema and the Takoradi port.
Yes.
Though ZEAL operates within the Takoradi enclave, but for sometimes we are also invited to perform certain operation within the Tema port.
Okay.
Especially when certain vessels have on board certain waste that might not be able to be discharged or handled.
You have that expertise.
Yes, we have that expertise. So on one or two occasions, we've been able to mobilize all the way from Takoradi to provide such services at the Tema port. And we are very much concerned in terms of quality and environmental management system. And just so you know, ZEAL is an ISO certified company.
Right.
ISO 45,000 and also a 14,001 certified company. So by virtue of that, we are much concerned and committed to high quality standard, and also we discharge according to international regulation.
Right.
So what I'm trying to say basically is that we try as much as possible to make sure we perform a lot of services, looking at activities such that tank cleaning, cargo tank cleaning. Sometimes we know that some of these cargo carrying ships at a point in time conduct cleaning of their vessels or tanks. So these are some of the activities that can also attract vessels to the port.
Right.
Because sometimes before even
vessel sets sail, they want to find out whether they can get.
They want to find out some of the activities that has been done or that can be done in a particular port. So when they realize that they can get a lot of offer or services in certain ports, so it gives them the motivation to sail to that particular port to conduct their operation. So in terms of tank cleaning activity, we are the expertise to do that as well. And then mind you, we made mention of oil spills offshore.
Right.
It could be accidental or intentional.
Yes.
So when it comes to accidental oil spills, then there is a need for us to have an oil spill response, which at ZEAL we have expertise in that as well. We have our oil spill response equipment, which is readily available to be deployed at any time when we are being called upon for either offshore or onshore incidents.
Yes.
Such that we can provide a timely response to whatever spill that is being that has occurred. Right. So these are just a brief of what we do in terms of port reception facility at the Port of Takoradi.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, just before you came in, Dr. Harry Barnes-Daban indicated to us the fact that you have some of the best facilities, in the country, and particularly in the Port of Takoradi. We just want to find out from you if you can keep us informed about your capacity in-house and how you're able to you service other countries as well. You also indicated yours is not limited to only waste management and the waste that's generated by the vessels that call the ports. You also have expertise in other areas, for which reason sometimes you are called to come to Tema and offer services as well. Can you tell us your in-house capacity and how you're able to export this to other countries and service them as well?
Okay, thank you very much for this question. In terms of our capacity on the port reception facility, our main facility is located at Inyanukum, which is about say 20 kilometers away from the port. So we have an operation facility as well. That is our operations, which is another branch within or around the port.
Right.
So this is to ensure a timely, intervention or in timely response to the ships whenever they call on us. So we have a workforce of about 200 and something personnel, I think before COVID, but now after COVID, the number has dropped down a bit. Our personnel are well trained. We have engineers, chemical engineers, mechanicals, process engineers, lab technicians, and so on and so forth. And we have our treatment plant, which is the oily wastewater treatment plant, which has the capacity to be able to handle between 100 to 150 meter cube of sludge, oily wastewater that is generated or being received from the vessel in a day. So when you come to the hazardous waste as well, which is the solid waste, like the oily rags and then medical waste, paint cans, all form of hazardous waste that is being generated from the vessel as a result of their operations and so on. So we have an incinerator which is has a capacity of 180 kg per hour. That is one of our incinerators that we used to have. Like I made mention in my talks earlier, we've tried as much as possible to expand our capacity significantly.
Right.
So now we are having a 1 ton per hour capacity incinerator.
Wow.
I'm sure you can see the difference.
Absolutely.
From 180 per hour, 180 kilogram per hour to 1,000 kilogram per hour incinerator. And this incinerator is also equipped with a fluid gas treatment system.
Right.
Which is a scrubber. This is so to enable effective cleaning of the flue gases. Now everybody is talking about greenhouse gases and also, quality management system of, emission system. So in our facility, we have this opportunity to be able to assist us in doing that. So whatever hazardous waste, even we are also handling e-waste, some of the ozone depletion gases or substances, foams from the used fridges and the rest. When you come to scrap management or e-waste management, these are some of the waste. When you look across nations, they are all spread all over, especially by some of the waste dismantlers or scrap dealers. So we are now working, it's a major project that we are working on now to be able to handle all these waste across nations.
Right.
So that we are able to incinerate them in a safe and environmentally friendly manner. So with this incinerator, we are able to work with it continuously for more than a month without stopping.
Right.
So that means that even if we have tonnages of hazardous waste, we are in a position to be able to handle it. In fact, as I speak right now, we are under capacity.
Right.
Not under capacity, we are underutilized.
You're operating below your capacity, okay.
Below our capacity. So we need more waste and volume to be able to handle the plants that we have at the moment.
Right.
So these are some of the expansion that we have had so far. And also non-contaminated waste as well. These are also form of hazardous waste that can come across from some of these vessels, especially when they are doing cargo tank washing or fuel tank washing. Norms are being come across.
Right.
So some of these waste as well, which contains norms, because the wastewater is not ordinary wastewater now. it contains norms that need to be handled in a special manner. So this kind of waste also is something that we at ZEAL are able to also handle efficiently. So our operations too as well, we do 24 hours operation, and we also have tanker trucks. These are road tankers, about 10, which are readily available to serve the port reception operation as well as other industry as well. So talking about waste that come from other countries, like we said, my director is someone who has a lot of, great visions. So he doesn't limit the operation of ZEAL Environmental Technology just to within Ghana alone. Like I said, we are operating.
You have presence in some other African countries, neighboring countries.
Yes, we need waste from other countries as well, because we understand other countries as well have limited capacity or expertise in handling waste. Recently, we received waste from Gabon through the transboundary movement of waste. It is because they were not having that kind of expertise in that country. That is why ZEAL came in to assist. In the past, they used to send that waste all the way to Europe to treat at a very great cost. So now, having ZEAL presence within the West African region,
it saves them
a
lot of
great
cost.
opportunity, yes, for them to reduce their costs and also make their work more efficiently to manage their waste in a short, location within Africa setting.
Okay, so before
this is our position for now.
Time at this juncture is not our friend, Abdul Ganiu. I just want to find out from you, I have a pregnant question for you. There are 3 questions. One, some of the challenges, operational challenges you encounter as port reception facilities. 2, in terms of regulations, what are some of the, and licensing, what are some of the challenges you encounter? And 3, do you buy into the idea for the formation of an association, that's of port reception facilities, so you can be effective and have one voice? Quickly, and then we move, we say goodbye to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. With respect to challenges, from where I speak from as port reception facility at the Takoradi port, I will not say maybe we have some major significant challenge in terms of our operations. Yeah, so the only challenge I may mention, or I may say, is the notification in terms of we being notified whenever we need to come and pick waste. Sometimes we get late notification. But as I speak, we are able to mitigate around these challenges. But it's just one of the challenges that we used to encounter. But like I said, we have our base at the port. So whichever time that we are being called upon, we are able to handle that. Another challenge that I will also make mention is the huge cost of equipment that we have been investing in. You know, like you mentioned, we are one of the companies which has, a very effective and standard equipment within the system. So this comes with a lot of cost and investments. So importing some of this equipment from outside comes at a great cost. So one challenge that we face from some of this is in terms of getting duty-free from some of the equipment that we import into the country. So we are hoping that maybe we will have an assistance in terms of we getting help in having a duty-free on our equipment that we bring into the country. Yeah, so these are some of the challenges that I may pinpoint at the moment. Aside that, every other thing should be fine. In terms of the association, I don't have any problem in forming an association. I think it's a very good thing. It will make us have a very strong voice to be able to communicate our values and objectives, and also, like I just mentioned earlier on, in terms of we having a duty-free on our equipment, having an association will also help us to foster a strong unity, such that our voice can be so heavy to the government and also the relevant authority to be able to assist us, and many other challenges that we may come across as well. If we have an association, we'll be able to jointly and collectively have them resolved. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Abdul Ganiu. Abdul Ganiu, he's a general manager of ZEAL Environmental Technologies Limited. They are the port reception facility operators in the port of Takoradi. You heard him. They also extend their services to neighboring African countries, and we can attest to the fact that yes, they have one of the best in our sub-region as far as reception facilities, port reception facilities is concerned. We are now going to go for a quick break. Time is not our friend. We'll go, and then when we return, we'll take your calls, and then we bring your messages up, and then we shall come in studio once again and find out one or two perspectives from Dr. Harry Barnes, the man who is the coordinator, executive coordinator, so to speak, of Port Environmental Network Africa, PNAF, and indeed Mr. Lons Delokulu, who is the senior estate and environment officer at the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority headquarters. They are the two gentlemen we are having a discussion with. Please stay with us. Don't go away.
Guys, now I'm tired. I'll go on a date with whoever gets here first.
Princess, really? Okay, I come.
Shut up!
Boss, fill my tank with Super XP Ron 95.
Fill up with Super XP Ron 95 and Diesel XP high performance products from Goyle.
Sorry, Tony got here first, so I'm stepping with him.
Oh, cut him. Hey, go for mommy.
Choose Super XP Ron 95 and Diesel XP for an energizing driving experience. Always go for Goyle Super XP Ron 95. Goyle, good energy.
Electricity, then pay your taxes. Yeah. Our taxes, our future.
Because you see, without our taxes, we wouldn't have good roads, good schools, better hospitals, street lights, and other very important social amenities. When we pay our taxes, we give our children free and quality education. Talga, my money too small. Why should I pay my tax? Look, small. Salifu, it doesn't matter how small or big your business or income is. You still have to pay your taxes. The little taxes from each and every one of us, when put together, could give your community clean water or that deprived school with tables and chairs. Please pay your taxes. It is your responsibility. It is your civic duty. It is the law.
Impressive factory. If only I had listened to you, I wouldn't have been in this mess. That devastating fire virtually wiped out the whole factory and my warehouse.
Remember my misfortunes last year? Serene Insurance Asset All Risk Fire policy that I took were there to pay for my damaged stocks in the warehouse. And my machines that were affected by the floods have been replaced. My accident vehicle is back on the road thanks to Serene Insurance motor policy. Currently, my goods are on the high seas, covered with their marine cargo insurance policy. I was just telling Ajima about Serene Insurance.
Oh, Ajima,
tell him more.
As a road contractor, I make sure I do my contractors all risk insurance for the projects and then workers' compensation for all the workers on site. With Serene Insurance, they will make sure they will cover your unknown tomorrow today.
Serene Insurance, a new face of insurance. Call us now.
MPS Terminal 3 is Africa's new state-of-the-art container terminal at Tema Port. For manufacturers, agro-processors and traders, the new port means business can be done faster. This infrastructure boost will improve Ghana's port handling capacity, connect more trading routes, and oil the engine of growth for the economy, creating greater opportunities across all sectors as Africa's markets merge and become the largest trading bloc globally. MPS, we connect, you thrive.
Business and life can be like the sea sometimes. Sometimes serene, sometimes calm, sometimes turbulent, and at times it brings the unexpected. However it is like, trust Phoenix Insurance for your home, car, business, and marine insurance needs. Call 0302 246 319 or 0243 690 492.
At Phoenix, you experience a delightful service delivered with wisdom.
All right, so welcome back. This is Iron Port here on Metropolitan Television, and tonight we are taking a look at port reception facilities, the challenges and opportunities for advancement. And with us in the studio is Dr. Harry Barnes-Daban, Executive Coordinator, Port Environmental Network Africa, PNAF, and indeed Mr. Lons de Loclou, who is Senior Estate and Environment Officer at the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority-GPHA headquarters. They are the two gentlemen we're having a discussion with. Remember, off the line a while ago was Mr. Abdul Ganiu, who is the General Manager of Zeal Technologies Ghana Limited. They are a port reception facility in the company in the port of Takoradi, and they even extend their services to other African countries as well because they have varied expertise in this particular field. So let me come to you once again, Lonsdale, and find out from you. We shall be taking your messages as well, but I've been told it by the production team that we can activate the phone lines for you to call in and contribute to the discussion. The number is right on your phone, on your screen, 020-552-8353, 020-552-8353. You can call in and contribute to the discussion. And pretty shortly, we shall be going into the inbox and come your way with your messages as well. But let me come to Lonzo and find out from you. You're part of the authority staff that took part in this particular, program, training program facilitated by PNAF Africa, in which some other African countries took part, Gambia, Cape Verde, and indeed Congo. Tell us, how does this benefit, the Port Authority? And if you can also tell us how it ties in to the realization of fulfillment of the MARPOL 7378.
Thanks for the question. Personally, this is the second time I have taken part in PNAF's training.
Right.
And my colleagues can attest to the fact that their training sessions have been very, very insightful. This year, we were lucky to have colleagues from Congo, Cape Verde, and Gambia who came on board to also share their experience.
Yeah.
Sessions like this gives us opportunity to reassess our opportunity and challenges with regards to PRFs. It also opens us up to new happenings in the field.
Yeah.
We also get a chance to also hear from our colleagues with regards to what they are doing in their jurisdiction.
Right.
During the section, we were taught something on port environmental communication. The idea is we have to be able to communicate in a way that will let us get a buy-in of the port community at large. Then we were also taught something about environmental financing, how to assess funds for sustainability. We were also taught something about how to implement the PRF.
Yes.
So it's basically a capacity building section
Right.
that will help us in so many ways.
Doc, you have been at the forefront of organizing some of these programs for various organizations and all that, and particularly your concentration or your focus is the port area industry. I just want to find out from you what the overarching objective is for organizing these capacity building programs for the ports in Africa. I know you are not only in Ghana, you also do a lot of work for other African countries as well.
Yeah, thank you for that one. Yes, of course, as Lons already indicated, basically it's on capacity building. So we seek to support the building of adequate knowledge and understanding, and then to facilitate a coordinated cooperative action amongst the port authorities, but also among PRF operators, both at the local level or the national level. I mean, like Ghana has two ports, so to the local level of Takoradi and Tema, but also the two come together at the national. Yeah. You got other ports, other countries, only one country, so it's only one port. Then it's just national. But then also we want this collaboration and cooperation in country, but also across the region. So our focus is to work together with the multiple actors connected with PRFs and port authorities across multiple countries within the regional territorial confine, and then build adequate capacity and then exchange information, but also best practices, and then benchmark these against international best practices. And as we pursue this, then we are also supporting the sustainable development of the ports in which these PRFs are located. And that's what it is. And doing this over the period has brought about some kind of soft and hard achievements. I mean, some of these soft achievements are the awareness that have been raised among the ports, the interpersonal skills that has supported them in the pursuit of their personal career, but also organizational goals, but then also work ethics regarding how PRFs must be done, so that by the PRF operators themselves, but also by Port Authority staff who are connected with this activity, and also problem solving skills. So to sit down and not just throw your hands in the air, but be able to look at what the issue is and then what can be done about it, and then also improved working together. And the ports are now beginning to realize that we need to talk together amongst ourselves. The actors also within even in country also, we have to also begin to engage and talk to ourselves. And then communication, like Mr. Okulu already raised, the issue of environmental communication, but also adapting in ways that are conducive and pragmatic for the situation that one finds, and also leadership skills. Right. So these are soft things that we have achieved. But also there have been some hard achievements that, for example, through our education, through our continuous training, the port of Pointe-Noire in Congo, for example, has established a port reception facility. They didn't have this until 2020. In 2020, we did a conference, the Third African Ports Environment Conference. We did it in Pointe-Noire, and then they took it up. And now they have established a port reception facility, and they have to come together to see what we are doing and then learn lessons as to how to facilitate this. In fact, the port of Bata in Equatorial Guinea is also next online. They were with us last year. Right. They spent 2 weeks with us to learn the Ghana experience and then to pick lessons on how they can also do it, and they're about also organizing one. But also it has also improved stakeholder and agency cooperation, like the customs issue that we mentioned. If you pick the story told by the general manager of Zeal, such a huge company struggling with taxes. In the meantime, there is a tax exemption act, but we didn't know about this until we got engaged with customs and then began to also understand, and they said, look, this is available. Can you work together? And then you can be able to access these kind of things. So it's one hard thing that we are really proud of, that we get in there. But then also we have had the European Association of Port Reception Facilities interested in getting African port authorities also under their umbrella. So if we're able to get them to work together, they'll be able to connect there. And then that aside also, we have also been able to work on together with the World Bank to have the Port Sustainability Charter, which is the first in Africa. And it's huge. So the document is there, picking up certain priority areas that you have to work on. We are also able to work with UNEP on that Abidjan Convention, and then we're able to do the first assessment of port policies and programs. That was really interesting, and I mean, we can go on and on some of these achievements, which is also now beginning to make the ports visible in some of these meetings. Because I remember those times you would go to Abidjan Convention meetings and other meetings, and the ports are missing. In the meantime, there's the convention for protecting the regional seas. And where are ports? So I began to question, where are ports in these meetings? And then we were able to get them to accept the port, and then they worked with us to do the first assessment of environmental policies. And these are part of some of the hard achievements that we have made, and we keep going on. It's just continuous training.
I'll come back to you. When I come back to you, I would want to find out from you how Ghana and other African countries can work at realizing all the annexes in the MARPOL 73, 78, and what we need to be doing to propel us there. And then when I come back to you, Lonzel, I also want to find out from you what the environmental policy of GPHA is and how we are working with it and how we can perhaps get it to be effective and efficient if it already is not. Now, this one says, my name is Ahmad in Takoradi. I work around the port. I can confirm everything the man from Zeal said. They are truly a leader in waste management in Ghana, and they should be given more to do. This one says, can Dr. Barnes, the man, speak more on what the role of customs is in all of this? I was surprised to hear about them. This one is from Rachel in Nungwa. If you oblige, Rachel.
Richard, thank you for your question. That's also one of the things that you are not the only person to have asked this, because the question then comes, what has customs got to do with port reception facilities? I mean, customs are responsible for anything that is dutiable. Any imports, exports going through the port, it's a rule of customs. So it does not matter what it is. But then it is what the regulations says that will then determine how a particular item is treated. So In the books of customs, waste is dutiable. So how then do you define waste? Is the question, the contention here.
Right.
So in working with them, it has now been understood that for oily waste and garbage that is coming from the ships as it has been generated, they are not meant for business in country. So what the customs is doing now is that when these waste arrive, of course, the notification, everything goes through the desk of customs.
Right.
And then customs, the officer responsible, will then assign somebody from customs to accompany the waste that has been discharged in the port to the facility where it has to be treated.
Right.
And then it is handled there. So as long as any product is coming through the port, customs has a role to play. But until you get closer to look at the nuances, you may think that customs has no role to play. And we learned this because we saw this in European ports and advanced ports. And then we began to question, we will have to cooperate with customs in this. In fact, in the past, we had gotten an arrangement with the Netherlands Ministry of Environment to have an MOU of understanding of cooperation between the Ghana Port Authority, the EPA, and customs, where we worked together on e-waste. And it was the subsequent outcomes that really brought about the e-waste legislation of Ghana. So customs has a role to play, but how it is to be defined is what we have worked on, and we keep dialoguing and talking about it.
Okay, this one says, I'm eager to know what happens after the waste is taken from ships. How do we handle that waste on land? Do they go to our landfill sites at Impong? This one is from Michael in Tema.
So with the ship waste, what happens is that at the port, the reception facilities pick them up.
Right.
If it is garbage, they do the sorting. The ones that are recyclable are recycled.
Right.
The one that's biodegradable goes to the landfill sites.
Right.
If it is sewage, the PRFs have developed biodigesters where they empty them into them for treatment. Then when it is oily waste, they have their oily waste separators installed in their premises where they do the separation of the sludge and take the water off and use the oil for other purposes.
Right. Okay. This one says, how about the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA? What role do they play here? The message is from Kofi in Tema.
Thank you, Kofi. EPA has a huge role. EPA has responsibility for environmental protection of the country. And as you and I would know, every endeavor that anybody undertakes has environmental implication. It either adds to the environment or takes away from it. So EPA has the mandate to ensure that any undertaking goes through an assessment to identify what the risks are. And then how those risks can be mitigated. So that is the role of EPA. And so if you are doing any development, you need to go through there's a regulation that requires that you have to go through the EVA, environmental protection process. And likewise, port research facility operators, before they can give in the license by Port Authority to operate, will have to go through the same process with EPA for EPA to do the assessment and then give them the environmental permit. Without the permit, they cannot work in the Port Authority.
Right. Okay, so let me come to you, Mr. Oklu, and find out from you if you can tell us about the GPHA environmental policy and what you're doing in terms of sustainability and all that, and how we can we've been working with it all this while.
So the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority recognizes that protecting the environment is critical to the sustenance of our ports or to the survival of our ports. So an environmental policy has been developed. This policy basically expresses our commitments with regards to the eco-friendly practices we are adopting in the development and operations of our ports. So with regards to sustainability, there are currently ongoing projects that are related to that. One that comes to mind is a recent tree planting that we did. We planted over 2,000 trees in and around the ports. The idea is to create enough carbon sinks, since we are in an environment where there is a lot of emissions. There is the e-powered cranes that Terminal 3 is using. The idea of switching to e-power cranes is to reduce emissions as compared to the diesel cranes. There is also the issue about we purchasing equipment with asset technology. The asset technology It's a new thing that helps reduce emissions from marine crafts.
Yeah.
So the recent purchases that we've done are all purchases that has this technology embedded in them.
Right.
And that will help us reduce emission on that front. Then we can also talk about the solar energy that we are using in some of our authority buildings.
Right.
We are about to scale it up and have it on all the port authority buildings. There is also the issue about the conservation of turtles.
Right.
You know, turtles are endangered species. So recently, when we were about to develop the Terminal 3 part of the port,
yes,
it was realized that that stretch of the port has abodes for turtles.
Turtles, yeah.
So we quickly created a place where we could hatch their eggs and put the turtles back to the sea when they are fully hatched.
Right.
Those are some of the few sustainability initiatives that can come to mind now.
Right. Okay. Awesome. So, Doc, yes, I said that when I come back to you, I'll get you to tell us how we can, ports in the sub-region, can work at realizing all the annexes in MARPOL Convention 73, 78.
Yeah, basically, collaboration is the key. Collaboration and cooperating amongst themselves. And then continuous training to get the adequate knowledge, because we now live in an information age. Things are changing rapidly.
Right.
So you need to be continuously on the lookout for what is new,
right,
what is contemporary, and what can be done. So collaborating to share, but also seeking the knowledge that is right. So continuously. And what I believe in is where my interest lies, is to go the way of non-state-led collaboration.
Right.
In that case, what I mean is that they cannot wait for the state to put them together.
Right.
They need to create their own agency. So if they come together as an association, that becomes an agency, because they are actors with the same objective.
Right.
Actors fighting for a common goal. So they need to, it does not be very formal, but you start from somewhere that, hey, we want to work together. Create it. You are acknowledged that we, 3, 4 of us, 5 of us, this is what we're trying to do. So a non-state-led collaboration, but of course you work in tandem with state actors,
right,
but they don't dictate to them what they should do.
Right.
They become more proactive. And once they have this agency, the next element I will talk about is architecture. What is architecture? They create their own norms, their own standards of operating procedures, which become common amongst them. And then you begin to realize that you are standardizing, and then you are creating a kind of a harmonized approach of doing things, and shift away from the fragmentation, which can create weaknesses in the chain, and then unscrupulous elements can penetrate. Now, once you have your norms, your rules of procedure, you now want to be ensure that there's inclusivity, so that no one is left out. Everybody has an equal standing in that kind of arrangement. If you don't, then you begin to split yourselves. Others just walk out. So inclusivity here, for me, is extremely important as one of the elements that you have to look at. And then once you do this and you are talking, and there should be, I always told the group, there should be confident disclosure.
Right.
I should not be afraid to talk of the mistake I made, because I'm not going to be penalized.
Yeah.
Rather, I get help. That, okay, you have this problem, you dealt with it this way. I also had it, and this is the way I did it. And then we learn from ourselves. So that's what it is in there. And then you adapt pragmatic solutions. I mean, different countries, different terrains, different political structures. We cannot influence the political structure, but we can be able to adapt in ways that can still align with international best practices. And this can only be done when we begin to talk about amongst ourselves, brainstorm and think outside of the box, and you'll be amazed the kind of solutions that can come on the table.
Right.
And once you have done this adaptability, you now want to get into the issue of coherence and ensure that what you're doing is not isolated from damaging biodiversity, for example, but is in tandem with that one. It is not kind of enhancing the transboundary importation of hazardous substances, for example. So you create our own African Tobacco Convention, for example, on transboundary movement of waste. This is not even being implemented the way it should be. Who knows? This kind of association could begin to pick it up and say, hey, it is very critical to us. So let's think of out of the box. A non-state-led organization that brings us together.
Awesome.
That should be able to bring us to up to speed.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And that was Dr. Harry Barnes-Taban. He is the Executive coordinator of the Port Environmental Network Africa, PENAF. Also in the studios has been Mr. Lawrence Delokulu, Senior Estate and Environment Officer, Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. And joining us via phone was Mr. Abdul S. Ganiu, General Manager of ZEAL Environmental Technologies Limited, a waste reception facility in the port of Takoradi. And tonight we've been taking a look at the port reception facilities in our country, Ghana, both Tema and Takoradi, and the challenges and opportunities for advancements. And you heard all from the horse's own mouths. And this topic, remember, came on the back of a training program organized by PENAF, the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, during which some 3 African countries joined their Ghanaian counterparts. We had the Congo, we had Gambia, and we also had Cape Verde, or Cape Verde, if you like, partaking in this particular training program. So we say thanks to our panelists for tonight, and we say thank you once again to our sponsors, Ghana Revenue Authority, GWEL PLC, Serene Insurance, Ghana Link Network Services, Meridian Port Services, and indeed Phoenix Insurance. And remember, the show is proudly powered by the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority-GPHA. And we want to encourage you to watch the update version of Iron Port on Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. on Ghana Television. And remember, God willing, next week we shall bounce back with another wonderful edition of your favorite Iron Port program. Keep watching the rest of our programs here, and we thank you so much for being our guest tonight. We wish you Godspeed. Good evening.